has anyone here read Stonelands? More people have read Stonelands than have been in a Fogou. Welcome, Fiona. This is Fiona Robertson, everybody.
Hi, everyone.
Right.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Excuse my laptop. It's not me that's not very good at tech, it's my laptop. It's very old. So, Stonelands. Let's start with Stonelands because this is a book that talks about an awful lot of ancient sites, but at the same time, it also explains it's a very personal book. It's a very personal book about you and your late husband, Stephen, and your, and your children.
Yeah.
So the decision to write that book and the decision to write it now, maybe we should start with there before we get into the sites, like, the way in which you combine these. I mean, it's a really beautiful book. It's very, very moving.
Thank
It
you.
will make you cry, but it will also make you want to go out in the car and go and visit a bunch of the sites that you're about to see, probably.
Well, I really hope that it will make everyone want to be megalith enthusiasts. But the thing is, I'm slightly nervous because I know that everyone here is already a megalith enthusiast. So my point of difference has vanished. But essentially, it's about my husband. Sadly, was diagnosed with cancer, and me and my family went through a really awful time. But when he got sick, I felt that I needed to do something to kind of distract me from it all. And I was already thinking a lot about stones and how the stones have certain qualities. Different stone sites have kind of different attributes that you could almost say it's almost like they've got a message for us today. You have to know also that for many years I worked in Mind, Body and Spirit Publishing, so this is naturally the way I think. It all kind of came together. I started writing it, and then sadly he passed away, and I carried on writing, and it was kind of, it really helped me sort of just describing our trips to the stones and what I felt about the stones, and it all came together.
So you'll see, when you buy a copy of the book, you'll see as you go through it all, there's kind of themes to each chapters, but also there's a geography to each chapters as well. We sort of follow you around. But tonight, because we've got a bit of a focus on Fogous and West Penwith in particular, a lot of the things you're going to see are going to be from that area, which is really nice for Lally and I as well, because we live not very far away from any of these places. So it's sort of a home from home. We always really like doing that here as well, I think. So
I knew that you guys were just, West Penwith regulars, so...
this is a typical view in West Penwith if you go there on your holidays.
So this is your first Fogou of the night, and it's Lower Boscaswell, close to Pendine. So I won't tell you too much about it because it's very ruinous, and actually the next one is better for explaining what a Fogou is. But it's quite close to, we have some relatives in Pendine, so if I go to visit them and I want to get away from everyone, I just wander down into the field, sit in this Fogou, and you can hear the insects and the wind and so on, but somehow the stone seems to block out the modern world, and you just feel very at peace there. I do like sitting in the Fogou.
That view as well, it just reminds me, because we were at End of the Road Festival this weekend, and it's not dissimilar to opening your tent in the morning to see what's going on, but with less rain and wellies.
Exactly. Okay, so this is Pendine Vow, and this is the back entrance. So the modern entrance is round the side of that stone hedge, and it was full of cows. And I also hadn't managed to get hold of the farmer to secure permission, so I didn't want to go around there. So instead I went in through the back, and so this is I think this is the original entrance as it would have been. And it's quite a squeeze to get in, but I did, after some wriggling, get in, and then once you're in, the tunnel widens out.
But the important, this is the creep, right? So the important thing to say about this is that with a lot of Fogous, as the original will be, you're going to see a lot of these as we go through, or a few at least, but you would have had to just disappear into the earth through there. They wouldn't have had the farm would have been a couple of, 3,000 years away or something. But imagine just like that's all you could see, and maybe that would have been blocked, and you had to go feet or head first down there into the complete unknown for some unknown reason.
So just to say a few things about what it would have been like. So the tunnels now tend to be open, and that's because antiquarians have broken in. But it's also because the Fogous were used for a really long time. So they're mostly dated to about 400 BC, but then they were in use for quite a long time. And towards the end of the time, the tunnels were broken open and they were attached to these courtyard settlements and so on. But right at the beginning, you would have just had a tunnel enclosed, and then this very tiny creep entrance. So this is a really amazing Fogou and well worth visiting. And it's, so you can see, like, you've got the tunnel goes down, it curves round, and then it kind of comes up to open out into the modern farmyard. And that farmyard is actually where it's Pendine Manor, it's where William Booley grew up. So perhaps this very Fogou is the one that inspired him to take up antiquarianism in later life, who knows?
I was reading recently that Fogou, you can break down the etymology of it into two separate parts that mean place of wonder.
Oh, nice.
Which I thought was amazing.
That's really nice.
And I don't know when that interpretation was sort of laid upon them, but I also just noticed in this one that you can also see some of the sort of luminescent moss, the bioluminescent moss. Can you spot it? Fogou, we'll get back to this later on, but a lot of Fogous have, it's not truly bioluminescent, I'm told, but it's like, this is the way it's described to me, that if you imagine my fingers and each one having a mirror on the end of it and it moves towards the light, and so it shines, and it shines as this sort of day glow green, a bit like a sticker on a kid's bedroom wall that glows in the dark if you hold it up to the light. And but if you take it out, it just dies. It can't stand full daylight, so it's sort of always in the darkness and it's always searching for the light, but the second you remove it from that dark interior, it dies.
That's a really wonderful metaphor. And there's also something else inside this Fogou, which is a quartz stone. And similarly, a quartz stone needs light. I love the idea of there being a quartz stone deliberately embedded in the wall, so that people maybe would have brought their torches in, shone it, the quartz stone would have lit up, but then when the torches went away, then it would, like the moss, have sunk back into darkness.
Yeah. It also has really cool names. It's Dragon's Gold or Goblin's Gold, which I quite like as well.
And that makes you think that, you know, maybe a dragon once lived there. There's lots of legends about this Fogou. So there's the one in Ithel Colquhoun's The Living Stones about the White Lady, who apparently comes on Christmas morning bringing news of Ireland. And Ian McNeill Cook suggested that obviously Christmas is very close to winter solstice, so maybe this legend harbours some ancient use of the tunnel, and that it was at winter solstice, it was recognising the return of the light, and the White Lady is actually the goddess. So I love the idea. I think it's Cheryl Straffron, who's a big kind of stones enthusiast and pagan person down there, thinks that maybe these Fogous were kind of metaphors for the womb of the Earth Mother, which is also very cool.
Yeah.
So this is just to show you that inside Pendine Vow is an earth chamber, described as a rab-cut chamber. I didn't know what rab meant, but I looked it up and I can tell you it means bedrock. So it's cut out of the bedrock, and this entrance is incredibly low. It's just like less than half a metre, so to get into that you've got to wriggle on your stomach.
And they're very damp. Fogous are always dripping with water, and they're always full of enormous spiders.
Yeah.
They're not for people that don't like spiders.
No,
Fogous.
definitely.
I mean, you could put your hood up and go in and sort of like get in there, but if you look around for too long, they'll start coming to see you, won't they? Some of them also glow.
With the moss or with something else?
I don't know. There's like a white glow.
Oh, really? Well, did you experience that in? I think you and Lally have both got good stories about Booley.
Yeah. Well, this is Booley Fogou. So this is a place called Rosemerian. It's private land, but it's like the best kind of private land, because we've had Right to Roam here a few times and we've worked with them on reports of inaccessible ancient sites. But this one, although on private land, has the most hospitable and enthusiastic owners for it. They have a cottage that used to be able to hire on their land, but they gave it to a guy that lives locally that couldn't afford to live anywhere nearby, and so they were like, well, we'll just sort of like pay him back a little bit. So they're really good people. So there are exceptions to private land and ancient sites, I would say, because Rob and Laura are amazing. And they leave their phone number, so when you get to the top of this drive, it's really near the Merry Maidens, and there's a sign that they've like painted. It says Fogous, and it's got their phone number underneath it, so you can just like call them up. It's a landline, you have to wait till they're in, and then you phone them up and you go, can I come and see your Fogous, please? And they go, oh yes, absolutely. You know, and that's basically how it operates.
That's what you want.
But you can see at the back there's a tiny bit of light at the back. When I first visited Booley Fogous, it was always completely enclosed at the back end, so it had been opened here at some stage. The creek passage would have been up to the left of the cat. But it's kind of slowly opened up. I don't know how, I don't know what happened, whether they did a dig or whether it just
Or was
fell
it
in.
connected with the time tube coming there, maybe?
Or maybe. There's an amazing time team episode. You can find it on our website as well, but basically all they find is like a sort of, what year? It's a water pipe. The dowser finds it though, so I thought that was still pretty cool, because
They were quite sniffy about the dowser.
they were, but he found the water pipe and they didn't know it was there, so, you know. I think he did all right.
Yeah, it's water after all.
Exactly. So yeah, that's the entrance. That's the current entrance, and it's a very slippy. You can see it's always covered in sort of moss and damp leaves. And you go down. No one knows what Fogous is for. I should say, no one knows what these are for. Some people think, like you say, they're birthing chambers, ritual. Some people said grain storage.
Yes, so there's the three archaeological possibilities, which are, what are they? Shelter when it's under attack, grain storage, and then ritual. But of course, it could have been all of those. So particularly in a time when grain was very important, maybe there were rituals involved, and parts of it could have been used for one thing. And the thing is, because the use has changed over time, and because the structure's been modified, it's really hard to say. But I love the idea of creeping into this dark space and just confronting whatever you're going to confront in there. But when we arrived at Booley, we were met our own spirit, which instead of being a white lady was a white cat. Now, I recently read the Jo May book, which was kindly loaned to me by my friend Adam, who has a book on every single esoteric topic there is. So kindly supplied this book in advance of the talk. And in this book I read that, first of all, that the house was haunted, that Jo May was he's not the current owner, he was the previous one. So before him, every male owner of the house had died young, and that there were two ghosts, one of whom was a monk, and that they had to have the Fogous exorcised. But apparently after that it all calmed down, and but one of the things, he had a psychic who described some horrible ritual involving a sacrificed cat. So, however, I feel that this cat is too kind of smug looking and satisfied to be the ghost of a sacrificial victim.
Actually, Laura as well, who lives there, I don't know, they've probably been there for about 20 years now, but wouldn't go in there for years at all. And now we're sort of like come to terms with it a bit more. But Joe used to do all sorts of things down there. He ran retreats, and his novel's also a bit kinky, isn't it?
It's certainly, it's imaginative, shall we say?
Yeah. There's a stone there with light reflecting on it at the front that people think is a carving, possibly an Iron Age carving.
Of a guy holding a spear in one hand and a serpent in the other.
Yeah, there's an amazing moment in Julian Coates' Modern Antiquarian film, which we also have on our website linked if you want to watch it. But there's this moment where Ian McNeill Cook and Jo May and Julian are all sat looking at this stone with the light on it, and I can't remember which one. I think it's Jo May's going, "Can you see it? Can you see it? Can you see this guy?" And Julian's like, "I think I could see it, but not necessarily right now."
Yeah. With the right stimulus. Yeah. So this is the entrance to the creep in there, just so you can see it's bigger than the one at Pendine. In the Civil War, there was a party of royalists sheltering this Fogou.
And that's connected with the name as well, because Booley's like river of blood or place of blood, isn't it? As
Oh,
well,
that's right.
Yeah.
Place of slaughter.
Place of slaughter.
So this is the northeast piper. I show you this now because I feel after these Fogous we need to see a standing stone. This is the closest stone. The two pipers are the closest stones to Booley, and this is now the tallest stone in Cornwall. That is 15 feet high. There was one that was taller, but it was chopped down at some point in the 19th century and was used to make, or the 18th century actually, and used to make 20 gateposts. Fun fact for you there. Here's another Fogou. This is Carnuni. So you can, have you got anything more to say about the luminescent moss?
Well, I mean, you can see it. You can see it here, not quite glowing in the way. It's really hard to capture on photographs as well, isn't it? But as you move around these chambers, as you walk around, it sort of follows you around. All of a sudden, you see it, and it's this incredible moment. It's like electricity going on.
Did you say it came at a certain time of year?
Well, this time of year is the best. I think I always feel like autumn, especially after a really hot summer and lots of sunlight, it seems to respond better. The same, like the bioluminescence that you can swim through in Cornwall is like amazing right now. So I think it's a late summer autumn thing.
So this chamber is really unusual because it's circular and it's got an amazing corbelled roof. And this was built quite centuries before the Fogou was built. So first you have this round chamber, about 500 BC, and then the Fogou was a bit later, and then so you can see again how it's sort of changing through time.
I think is it called a beehive chamber? I think it is, isn't it? This part, and it's kind of almost completely circular, but now they've opened it up to the light at the top. There's like a grid. Apparently, we read a thing recently where people went to visit it before they put that cap on the top, so it's just open. You could look down it like the hot circles. But I love this feature as well. Like, is that for fire? Is it for storing things? Is it for putting your TV set in?
Yeah.
Is it for is it a chamber for sound?
Someone's head, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe it's like a hypogeum or something.
Oh dear, I'm too fast. Hang on, let's go. Sorry, let me go back. Just to say quickly, so the other thing about these passages is that normally bending round to the northeast, i.e. Sunrise at winter solstice, which is something that Ian McNeill Cook has noticed, and he actually waited at the tunnel mouth for sunrise once, and it had a wonderful effect.
I love these cobblestones as well, or the sort of, the top, because it's almost like a whole bunch of trilithons, one after the other in a psychedelic sequence.
There's laid on their sides.
Yeah.
I mean, you can just imagine the mind-blowing rituals that went on down there. I'm sure there was a lot going on. Right, so this is just quickly another type of Iron Age site is the cliff castle. So you can still see if you walk out onto the Gurnard's Head and just soak up the amazing sort of sea breezes and the crazy activity of the ocean. You can actually see the ramparts and the ditches still there. And then here's another sort of place you can burrow into. This isn't Iron Age, this is much older. This is either late Neolithic or early Bronze Age. There's 4 of these burrows up above the Gurnard's Head, and that's the view from inside. I really like that one. And then here's another sort of place you can burrow into. Obviously Cornwall is full of amazing holy wells, but this is perhaps the loveliest, St Creed. And when Ian McNeill Cook was going round writing his amazing guidebook Journey to the Stones, he was kind of measuring the radiation of the sites, I think following what the Dragon Project had been doing, because there's the idea that if a site is particularly radioactive, more so than the surrounding area, it might have been used for mind-altering rituals. I don't quite understand what the connection with enhanced radiation and altered states of consciousness is, but apparently there is one. And this one is, he said it's the one he got the highest reading. It's 200% above the background. So yeah, maybe that explains the amazing feelings people have when they're there.
when I moved to Cornwall, Lolly was telling me that because this is all granite, and I can't remember when it was, I don't know, 20, 30 years ago, Cornwall Council decided to put radon meters in everyone's homes just to see what the level of radiation is. It just went to 11 and just did that, and so they took them away again because no one wanted to live in a house where they were just being radiated entirely all the time. But there probably is something to this about sort of the earth itself and the reason why these monuments are here, I think. You can see a tea light in there. There's a box just off to the left of this photograph. There's an honesty box, isn't there, where there's tea lights and a lighter in there, and you sort of put a quid in, and you can, leave your own offering. But this also has the moss in, the bioluminescent moss, and also feels incredibly foggy, like it doesn't go anywhere. The portal just leads to water.
Yes.
Steps lead down as well, as you can see here, don't they? The steps lead down and they just end at water.
And you almost feel like what would happen if you went even further. I mean, I've never dared do that, and it would feel a bit almost sacrilegious, certainly putting your feet in it, but imagine kind of just going down, 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 entering the underworld.
It's like another great moment in the modern antiquarian thing, around the thing of I might be able to see it at some sort of point if I was more psychedelically informed, but the thing where Joe May says, well, of course, there's a natural physical end to this fugu, but of course you can journey much further. I think Neil Cook says actually you can journey much further. This is a portal into another realm.
Fabulous.
If you stay here for long enough, you can just keep going.
I do feel that's the case. That's why I need to basically pack my kids off to uni and then move down to Cornwall and just sit in the fugu for the rest of my life. I think I'd be quite happy doing that. Okay, so here's some more stones because I feel we need to see some stones from time to time. But I was saying to Matt earlier that while Avebury's my favourite landscape, this is my favourite stone circle because it's absolutely perfect. You've got that leaning stone in the middle, which is like a sunstone, and then you've got the quartz stone, which is like a moonstone. And I love that stone. I think that's my very favourite standing stone. Even just looking at it now, I just go, I just want to touch that stone. So, I've heard some lovely stories about it. Some people call it the healing stone. And Cheryl Straffron told me a lovely story which she, which I put in my book about how when her cat went missing and she thought it had died, she went to the circle and to ask that whatever spirit was associated with the healing stone would help her cat to pass easily. And then that night she had a dream about her cat scratching on the back door, and the cat would always go in through the front, it never went in through the back. But then the next day there was scratch, scratch, scratch on the back door, and there was the cat restored to her, which I thought was so beautiful. But I just love the fact you've got all these stones of granite and then the big quartz one. You can just see in the picture how gorgeous it is. And quartz seems to have been very much associated with the underworld because you get these, like for example Newgrange had either a quartz facade or a quartz platform around it, and you can imagine the kind of rituals that went on with quartz in these dark tunnels, sort of symbolising the return to life perhaps.
It's an amazing shape too. It's kind of elliptical if you look at it from above, isn't it? And it has 19 stones. So lots of theories around the sort of 18.5-year lunar cycles to return back to where the sun would have been originally, or the moon would have been originally.
That's right.
And no one really knows if that stone was placed as a leaning stone or whether or not it's subsided today.
Well, I think so. I think the general agreement is it was installed in the leaning position, but whether that might be a 19th century view, and I don't know. I haven't heard anyone say that it was upright and slumped.
No. The amazing thing as well on the underside of that, so if you were around the other side of that leaning stone, there's those daggers that have been carved into it at the bottom. So right at the very bottom, sort of where the tuft of grass is, there are these two sort of, they look a bit like Neolithic axe heads, but also someone said, well, they also look like feet.
Yes.
So it could be...
Or breasts, someone else
Or
says.
Breasts. It depends who you're asking.
Exactly, yeah.
But they're amazing, those, and they're kind of, they're carved in relief, so someone's carved away stone to reveal them as shapes. Or maybe they're all of those things.
It's a wonderful thing to think that they're there anyway.
Yeah.
And then there's just one more thing to say about that quartz stone. So I'm sure you all know the story about the Merry Maidens being turned to stone because they committed the sin of dancing on past midnight into the Sabbath. Well, the same story was told in the 19th century about Boscawen, and apparently one of the maidens there saw the error of her ways and was honestly and sincerely regretful for her terrible sin. So as a reward, she was turned into quartz instead of granite. I'm sure she was very grateful for that. So on that note, thinking now about passing through Fogous, well, this is a very strange thing. We don't know if it was ever a ritual site, but it's interesting, it's right next to the church. It's this strange stone, St. Levan's stone, and there's this legend that it's getting wider and further apart, and then when a laden horse can pass through it, then the world will come to an end. But yes, it's
People also think it looks like a bit like a bomb.
Yeah, it really does. So moving on from that one. So another metaphorical stone, again passing through. Who has not, or who's crawled through the Menantage? I would have thought a large proportion of people. I mean, who's gone there and not crawled through? I don't.
Howard. Did you watch someone else go through it? Yeah. Good.
So obviously there are all the legends about curing, rickets, and it was called the crick stone, but it does have a high quartz content, and just to kind of invoke Cheryl Staffron again, who I interviewed in my book, she speculated that the quartz maybe had some kind of healing effect. Because people apparently have got electric shocks just by touching the Merry Maidens. So the granite around here has got a lot of quartz in it. So on to Moorhold stones. So these are very intriguing. On Kennerjack Common, what these holes are for, no idea. Way too big to pass a baby through. Even too big, I think, if you're a man, to put your hand through. On Twitter, I was questioning what they were for, and someone suggested putting another part of the male anatomy through, but I think that would be really difficult given where they're placed. So yeah, I don't know. Carolyn Kennett, who's this amazing archaeoastronomer who leads guided walks in West Penwith, helping people understand what the sites might have been used for, and particularly thinking about their alignments to the solstice and things on the horizon. She speculates that these were used as this is all with a caveat, it's just an idea, but she says that maybe they were used as a winter solstice marker, like a calendar, because the shadows thrown by the sun through the holes would have varied at different times of year. And she's pointed out that the whole West Penwith landscape is very much about the winter solstice because of this spine of granite that extends towards the southwest, i.e. naturally towards winter solstice sunset. So really, wherever you are, you're going to have some kind of horizon marker that's connected with winter solstice, which is obviously a hugely important time of year. Then this is lovely Kennerjack Common with Choker Seal Circle, and then what's really interesting about this is there's a hedge to the west, and across the hedge is the site of where another standing stone circle's definitely stood, because we know that because there are pictures of it from the 19th century, and there's possibly a third circle too that people have seen as crop marks. But if you go there now, you can look at this hedge and you'll see some suspicious large stones.
And the sounds through Cornish there, you can see it on the brow of the hill. The hooting cairn. People have talked about this a lot. We've read lots of antiquarian sort of recollections of all of that. But one day, Lally and I were actually at Treger's Seal. On the way up, actually, we were walking from the path at the bottom past the whole stones back to the circle, and actually heard it. And it's the most haunting sound. I tried to record it, but it has to be really windy for it to work. But obviously that's the last thing in the world you want when you're trying to make a recording of that sound. But it sounded like multiple female voices.
Wonderful.
And there was two notes, and it undulated between these two notes, just two notes. And it was like this incredible ambient piece of music where it undulated between these two notes, and you could hear it, but you couldn't record it.
It's such a spooky place, isn't it? But the thing that you don't want to hear when you're out on out near Tregusill after dusk is the sounds of hoofbeats, because that's going to be the devil riding out in search of lost souls, and likely you are a lost soul. There's a certain style apparently where the devil will always catch up with you.
And these sites, so just to bring it back to Stonelands as well, are these all sites that you visited together? Are these sites that what do they mean to you in that regard? Because in the book you make really clear distinctions between places that you visited, when you were much younger and then going back, and what they mean to you now.
So all these places, I started to go to West Penwith with Stephen and the kids about 10 years ago now, and we just went one year in the summer camping, and it rained every day. It was like the worst weather. Very Cornish, but we just totally fell in love with it, and then we came back after that every autumn. So many of these places he was with us, so they're very evocative for me with that regard. But we've kind of gone on, and the kids are like, they're children, they're not really interested in stones, but they kind of tolerate this, and I think they also enjoy, like they remember going to these places with their dad and stuff, so we just carried on going to places, and it's almost like a bit of a tradition now. So I feel like there's so much to see there. I kind of want to go to every single site in Journey to the Stones, and I've gone to quite a few, but not every one, and yeah. And of course, go back not for very long, but there's always, you want to go back to your old favourites as well. So this one, I just find this, there's loads of kind of strange synchronicities that happen to me connected with this part of the world in particular, and this is an example. So I only went to this stone quite recently, like a year or so ago, and even though I'd read about it before, it's Boswen's Menhir, and it's talked about a lot because it can be seen from so many different sites. So if you're into alignments and ley lines, then this is a really great one because it's very visible up above Tregusill. But then basically after that I came back and I finished the book, and then I got a message from the woman who was going to voice the audio, and she sent me a picture of the stone, and said I was up there this morning. Oh no, there comes a point in every talk where I feel like crying, and I'm not going to do it now, but I feel like it was so moving because she said, I was up there and I was reading your book about how you went to the Preseli Hills and you went to Bed Arthur and you heard a cuckoo, and I heard a cuckoo, and then I looked it up and I realised that, and then I think I posted about this, and someone said, yes, and I was in the Isles of Lewis, and I heard the first cuckoo today. And then I looked up and I realised that the cuckoo, obviously, it flies in earlier. So she'd heard the first cuckoo in Cornwall, and then a bit later, however it was, I can't remember the exact chronology of this, but when I posted about it was maybe a week later, the cuckoos had reached Lewis. And they were all, and there was just this, and in Lewis, there's the story about the Shining One, who on Midsummer's Day appears and is heralded by a cuckoo. So somehow there was a cuckoo connecting me from and Cornwall and Lewis. It was just all thoroughly magical. Anyway, sorry, calm down now. But what the other really special thing is this woman, Mary Woodvine, turned out to be the star of Innis Men. So, and I didn't even know, and the publisher didn't know either when they commissioned her to do it. So it was just so special and so wonderful. And she's done an incredible job of doing the audio, by the way. We had this wonderful conversation where she was, she rang me up to basically ask me how to pronounce things, and then I realised I just didn't know how to pronounce anything. I mean, like a few of the Cornish sites fine, but then she was asking me the Gaelic ones. But then she consulted, she really did her research on this, so she did an amazing job, and I think probably all the names are beautifully pronounced, much better than I can. Right, so that's, how are we doing for time, because I'm conscious.
Should we do a couple more?
Okay, well, very quickly, Tresvannock. Another one that's got lots of alignments. So from here you can see the two stones of drift and the blind fiddler, but it was an extremely foggy day and very, very atmospheric, so I didn't see anything that day.
Traditionally Cornish weather, this mizzle.
Mizzle, exactly, yeah.
Because people go on holiday and they think, oh, it's going to be amazing. It's like Highway to the Sun kind of thing. Or, you know, they do that festival where Goldie plays every year called Run to the Sun. But everyone gets there and just pisses it down for like the whole week.
But I mean, I like that weather now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't think I could do a hot holiday. I'm used to kind of Celtic weather. So, Boscadnan, just to show you on the horizon, there's Carn Galva, and it's just very characteristic to see these cairns. Just to run on to this, so Christopher Tilley's theory is that these cairns, which were created, this is Tune quote, were created to mimic the, these quotes were created to mimic the cairns on the horizon. And Menantoul, interesting, I meant to say earlier, that stone was probably from the top of a rock stack somewhere way up, and then it was taken down. Because it's very rare for one of those stones to kind of wear out through the middle, so it was obviously a special stone that people have carried down. So this is from the inside of Tune Quoit. Now looking over there, somewhere over there is Boswen's Menhir, but you can't see it so well in my picture, but what you can see is the, I don't know what it is, a phone mast or something, and some
like
kind
the space station thing.
Space station,
yeah.
I don't know what it is, but there's something about the Cornish landscape. It's not just the standing stones that you can see poking up, and it's not just the cairns. You can also see church towers, like you can see St Buryan's from the Piper. You can see the mine towers, like Ding Dong Mine from Boscadnan, and then you can also see the telegraph masts. So you're kind of like, when I'm there, I'm always sort of feeling the pull of these alignments, even for modern stuff.
Yeah, it really changes your perception, doesn't it? Because at Lanyon Court you can see this, at Menantoul you can see this, not quite from Main Screefer, but wherever you go, there's always one more at least.
Yeah.
If you know where to look back to.
Yes.
But it's really hard to know where it is until you visited all of them. It's better on foot.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why it's great to go back, because there's always a good view that you haven't noticed before. And the very last image, leaving you with an Iron Age site, Tune Castle, which is best seen from the air. So just to give a credit to Horatio from the Megalithic Portal, whose picture this is. But yeah, just, I mean, just the whole of West Penwith is just full of megalithic remains, and it's such a delight to explore there.
And this site as well, you've got this, it's hard to tell from here, but you actually have a 360-degree view, and you can see the north and south coasts of Cornwall at the same time. If you stand up on any of the sort of, you know, the cairn around the side, you can actually see both coasts at the same time on a clear day.
Imagine living there. Breezy, but fabulous.
But yeah, exactly. That would be TripAdvisor.
Exactly.
And then also Tune Quoit that we just looked at is literally just down this path. It's kind of like literally just off the screen. And probably sites separated by 1,000 or 2,000 years from each other's construction. So again, a bit like Avery, you can walk around and feel like you're in this megalithic complex.
Yeah.
And you are, but you're in one that's evolved and changed over thousands of years. And you're part of that story. It's not that it's ended. It's always becoming.
Yeah. Oh, just to say on that note that I found a stone up there that was, it had all these kind of strange hole marks in it. I thought, oh, is this cut marked? But it looked too regular. So I looked it up, and actually what it is it's called a merriment stone. And in the 19th century, they used to drill these stones and pack them with gunpowder, and then let the gunpowder off, particularly actually at midsummer. So it just shows that this was being used as a place of kind of fun and revelry, even as late as then.
Yeah, actually, Carn Uni that we looked at earlier, I was reading about that somewhere, and someone said that it had been excavated using dynamite, which I thought probably explains a lot in terms of why it's so difficult.
Metals were definitely less sensitive in those days.
Yeah, definitely. So there's lots of copies of Stonelands at the back. Alexander Tucker's gonna play in a second, but in the interval we have we have all kinds of goodies towards that end of the room, not least Fiona's book and Slow-Mo's LP and loads of Stone Club bits and bobs, and copies of The Wire. Thanks to The Wire for sort of spreading the word about tonight as well, which is always really helpful. I can't recommend Stonelands enough, really. It's an amazing journey. It takes you into all kinds of different places. We've just touched on Cornwall tonight, and we've only really touched on the very edge of what you talk about in terms of your own personal journey. And so I hope everyone gets involved and gets a copy later on. So anyway, thank you so much to Fiona Robertson.